Hey there, everyone. Hope you had a good start to your week and had a good Valentine's Day this past weekend. I just want to send you across my weekly market update for the week of February 16th through February 20th. So let's jump straight into the market update for the macro headlines. So looking at both buyers and sellers for this week. So if you're a buyer looking at purchase your home this time of year, and the winter months may be a good time for that. So you always see a little bit more kind of negotiating power during the winter months than you would in the spring market. Spring kind of brings a little more competition. More buyers are on the market looking at those homes, even though there is a little bit more listings during that spring period. So you may have a little bit more to choose from, but at the same time, there may be a little bit more competition when it comes to possible multiple offers. In those winter months, the seller may be a little bit more lenient towards negotiating due to the fact that a lot of the times they may be, needing to move. They may be moving for work, for schools, or just life changes, whatever it could be. So if you are a buyer and just kind of sitting on the sideline and waiting for like the rates to dramatically drop, that kind of strategy may not pay off because first off you may be doing the same, waiting for those rates to drop as someone else, and most buyers, the minute that rate does drop, they'll be jumping onto the market just like you are. So that may not be the best move. And the second thing is, you may not, that big rate drop may not ever happen. So they may stay consistent in the sixes or fives like they're looking at right now, or even get a little higher. So at the same time, that rate drop may not happen, and you will be sitting on the sidelines for a significant amount of time. But if you are a buyer looking at both resale or new construction, right now, builders are currently offering some of the strongest incentives we've seen in years. So if, for example, you wanted a newer home, some builders may be kind of a little bit more open to kind of giving you a little bit more stronger incentives than we have seen in the past. For sellers, like I mentioned, the spring market is approaching, so typically that does bring a little more competition. So if you get your property on the market just before the spring market, you may get a little bit more eyeballs due to the fact of there isn't like 3 or 4 or 5 homes in your surrounding area with very similar stats. So that may be a good move for you guys to get it on there before. And then when pricing a property, it does matter in this market. Some strategy you could be kind of like pushing the top end of the range, kind of testing the market, and then kind of seeing, if you can get that buyer within the first couple of weeks, and then repositioning yourself if it doesn't come into fruition. That's one strategy you can do. But we are seeing, homes that are priced correctly from the start are selling a little bit faster and than the average one on the market right now. Obviously, that makes sense. So jumping to the next slide. So looking at listings and kind of pricing behavior. So this is just a medium price of existing home sales right now, looking at nationally throughout the United States. So just, obviously we did see a little bit of seasonality here. So during the winter months, you are seeing a little bit lower median price. And then in the kind of summer/spring months, you're seeing the median price grow a little bit. We did see a little bit of a drop off, during the higher interest rates. We didn't see like a crazy peak like we have seen in the past. But at the same time, we did see a drop off once those rates did pike up back in 2023, and now they're kind of consistently growing like we've seen in the past. So it's kind of interesting to kind of watch those medium price homes, existing home sales happen throughout the United States. And as we jump to kind of, builders and remodelers, so we are seeing 19% of new construction homes have a price reduction. This is slightly higher than existing home sales right now. So builders are kind of protecting the neighborhood values rather than adjusting they are adjusting their incentives rather than lowering their list price. That kind of helps like the neighborhood values to do that, to just keep the prices at a good market value, so that they don't see a huge drop off when it comes to the price of their home. So it may be a good time to, if you're in the market looking at new construction, to purchase one because, builders are a little bit more kind of offering good incentives. So if you are in the market for a new construction home, it may be a good time to look at it now. So just want to kind of quickly explain this graph here. So we're looking at both, single family home sales and the top 200 largest U.S. home builders, kind of looking all the way back to 2003, all the way up to 2024. So just briefly looking at the graph here. So obviously back in the early 2000s, we did see kind of a large gap between both single family home sales and new construction. And then whenever we got to that kind of crash in 2008, obviously both home sales and also new construction sales did drop off dramatically, and then we are seeing a gradual growth since then. One thing I wanted to notice, new construction, sales have grown almost higher than they were back in 2005, 2006. So that's kind of interesting to see, and kind of the difference between single family home sales and new construction is kind of a lot less than we did see back in the early 2000s. So a lot of reasons that could be, big builders are kind of staying competitive with rate buy downs and kind of incentives despite the higher rate, the interest rates. So that's how they're kind of competing against the single family home sales. So it's kind of interesting to see kind of throughout time how they are kind of working the market. So if you're in the market right now and you're thinking, should I rent or should I buy? If you're a first time home buyer or someone in that category, just want to kind of explain kind of the trends we're seeing both with home buying and renting. So home buyers need to earn around about $111,000 annually to kind of afford the medium price home. Compared with renters, their average salary is going to be $76,000. The median household income is around about $86,000. So just quickly looking at this graph here, obviously we did see a big kind of pickup post-COVID for the income that you needed to purchase that average median price of a home. So it did kind of dramatically increase during that post-COVID timeframe due to the fact of the home prices did kind of increase a little bit more, kind of like I showed you on that graph a couple slides back. So while this gap is still significant, the rent/buying gap is still the smallest it's been in 3 years. So it is narrowing between buying and renting. So it is making it slightly more affordable. As rents keep getting slightly more expensive year over year. So it's kind of something to kind of take a look at. And if you're in the market both to rent or you're looking to purchase your first home or looking to get into the market to see if you're able to do that, I think the best next step for this would be kind of talking to a lender and see what makes the most financial sense for you guys. But it is kind of dropping off a little bit, and kind of the gap between renting and buying is kind of shrinking. So it's kind of important to kind of notice. And the last thing I wanted to go over this week was going to be the mortgage rates. So we are seeing a little bit of a dip this week in the mortgage rates. So the 30-year fix is going to be 6.04. 15-year is going to be 5.61, and then as we go down below too. So we are seeing a little bit of a lower interest rate, week over week. It's 11% different than it was this time last week. And then last month, we were seeing a 0.03% difference. And then from a year ago, we're seeing a 1% difference. So the mortgage rates are coming down a little bit. So it's good to see. Hopefully these keep going that way. And if you're in the market looking to get qualified, obviously right now may be a good time for it. But anyway, like always, ping me if any questions, whatever you have. I'm happy to kind of talk through things, and hope you guys have a good rest of your week, and I'll see you next week.